starts now. Oh, it's so sad to see Christmas finally gone, but unfortunately the day is gone. But the season remains. We still have that beautiful gap between New Year's and Christmas that we can just sort of pretend like it's still Christmas, even though it's technically not. So to continue with that thought, we're going to go ahead and continue drinking weird beers. That's what we're going to do this whole time. I've got a Christmas ale from Breckenridge Brewery in Colorado. I'm going to go ahead and crack it open and see if it is any good. I have no idea. I haven't even tried it yet. What could possibly go wrong, right? That is, it's not bad. That's not bad. So if you're in Colorado and you next to the Breckenridge Brewery, if it's available, give them a shot. That's actually, you know what? That's actually not bad. It's kind of it's got a weird, not an aftertaste, but a before taste. If that makes any sense. Not too bad. Not too shabby. There's one more left in the fridge. I may have that tonight for sure. Pretty good. What's going on, everybody? So I hope you've all recovered from Christmas Day. Hopefully you're all still on vacation, but I'm sure some of you had to go back today. So I'm sorry for that, but I'm glad you're here to get that one day done. You only got, 3 days left in the work week. So come on, we just push through. I know we can do it. I know we can. Well, I say we. I ain't working. So it's just you're doing all the work, but I'm with you in spirit. Kind of. Anyway, so so I'm on vacation. Hopefully most of you on vacation, talking about the year that was 2023 and kind of where we're at now, what's going on. And it's great to be talking about more than just one company this year. We're talking about a lot of different things this year. Tonight, we're talking about how the line between real and fake, the real arcade machines from back in the day and these little imposters, that line beginning to fade. The worlds are beginning to converge. The realms are beginning to converge. What is that? That was like the second Thor movie, like when all the realms were converging and it was going to be Ragnarok. But Ragnarok was the third movie. It's all very confusing. It all just bleeds in together. But basically, where we were and where we are not the same places. Huh? I don't think that makes any sense at all. But what does make sense tonight is the poll question. You see what I'm drinking. I hope you're kicking back with something nice. Maybe a little strong, depending on if you got to work tomorrow. But we got a poll question tonight. And the poll question is going to be reminiscent of where we were a year ago. We kind of had the same topic, kind of, the real versus fake. But I think that it is a different conversation now, 1 year later. But still, the question remains, what makes an arcade machine real or fake in your mind? What's the biggest differentiating factor? You got four options. It's going to be the monitor. Basically, it's that old CRT versus LCD debate that rages on. The cabinet construction itself, that's the real thing that makes the difference. The controls themselves, the bad, crappy knockoff controls that we have in some of these cabinets, or the good premium stuff? Or is it the game PCB, the actual device that is delivering the game to the monitor? Is that going to be it? So let me know in the comment section. We got about 38 votes, not too shabby. The poll is actually working today. I guess YouTube took Christmas off, which is fine. I understand. That's fine. But it was acting a little bit wonky yesterday. So let me know up there. You got four choices. Once again, what makes an arcade cabinet real or fake? Real or an imposter? You got the monitor, the cabinet construction, which we're going to get into in detail tonight, controls, or the game PCB, the thing that's actually storing the game and delivering it to the monitor. Let me know what you think about that. So that is the poll question tonight. Hopefully, some pretty good discussion because, we got more to talk about than just one little arcade company doing one little thing. We got other stuff to talk about. Lines are blurring. People are stepping over lines, crossing lines that some other people have said should never be crossed, but yet still the same. They're being crossed. And I think for the most part, it's a good thing. It is a good thing because, like we said last night, more competition means that the consumer wins. Every single time. If they're fighting with each other, that means they're up in their game. They're trying to stand out from the crowd, and that means that we get more stuff. Quality, I don't know, but the quantity is definitely there. Let me take another. This is not too bad. I put it in the freezer too before it came down. Not too bad. You know what I should have done? Got my New Wave Toys Coke machine over there. I should have put a second one in that. And then about halfway through the stream, I can just get another one. That could be a problem. That might be a problem. The stream may not end well if we did that. So yeah, maybe we'll try that some other time. Maybe we'll have just like Cokes in there. I don't want to have too many cold beverages on tap. So anyway, speaking of on tap, who was the first one on tap up to bat? The first comment of the day. Are we going to actually be able to have a three-peat? Is it possible? Could we have the three-peat, the three action, the same guy or gal commenting first? No, not this week, not today anyway. It's going to be Angelo P. Merry Christmas, Fox. Wow, I am actually first on posting. Yes, you are. You got it. How are you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Game Broker 84, still close. It's so far away. Happy second day of streaming. Can't wait for the show tonight. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. Absolutely. Like I said, hopefully you were able to recover from the day. Jim B, how's it going? No triple face? Yeah, no USC, no face, no triple face. Unfortunately, the triple threat of the triple face is no more. We'll see if they chime in a little bit later. Jim Pacer fan, can't wait for the second day of streaming. Let's go. These comments, I'm sorry, let me back up. The first comment was left at 11:22, so lightning fast on the trigger there. Writes Retro K, there's a song developing here. 2 candy cabs and a fox sipping bourbon slowly. Something. It could be a country music song, could be a folk song, could be a rock song, like a hair metal ballad, perhaps, maybe even rap. No, probably not. Bo Peep 64 Fox. Any chance RK1UP does an X-Men 6-player in 6-player X-Men XL in 2024? Cap is a good deal now on the 4-player deal, and trying to determine if I should buy or wait for the 6-player XL. I say if you want the cabinet at $399, go ahead and buy it. They actually built a 6-player 3/4 scale. They built that as a prototype. They didn't go forward with it. I seriously doubt they're going to make that an XL form factor, because I think the biggest reason that I heard that they just couldn't really bring that 3/4 scale beast to market was that it was too expensive. So the XL would just be that much more expensive. And I just don't think that the band is there. Now, you definitely could do it. You could do the 6-player. I mean, I built one myself, but you could do a 6-player and just not utilize all 6 players, obviously, for all the, you have the 6-player X-Men as the marquee title, but you could have other games on there that just use 4 controllers or 2 or whatever. It's fine, and I don't think that that's a problem. They've done that before in the past with the Sega, their Sega Revenge of Death Adder cabinet. They did that. I think the marquee title was the only one that actually required 4 players. So you could absolutely do it. It's possible. Is it practical? I think for the fans of the X-Men game that would love to have a 6-player variant, I think it would probably be worth it. If it was an XL, and if it was like, I don't know, man, I think they'd probably go $1,000 on that. They would probably go $1,000. But the problem is that you're going to be stuck with what, 2 19-inch monitors to simulate that look, to get the same width, but still keep the same aspect ratio. Or maybe they could try to do like a 32 and still keep it all cropped the same. The one I built had a 27-inch in it, or it has a 20. You can see it. Yeah, you can see it right there. It has a 27-inch in it. So you could, you could probably do a 32-inch, maybe, I think. But if it was let's say if it was just a 27 and it was but it was like the XL form factor, is that going to be worth $1,000? That's probably what they would ask. Now, I don't know what it would actually sell for. It would probably get a deep discount, but you're probably looking at $1,000 cab. So, unfortunately, no, they're not going to do it. They're not going to take that kind of a chance. I wish they would. I wish they would give it a shot. I wish they would at least, that could be one of those titles we've talked about before where they could sort of put that on the website, do like a crowdfunding thing, or just direct to consumer. Just say, hey, listen, if you want it, give us the money and we'll build it, and they got to have so many, don't do like it doesn't have to necessarily be like a GoFundMe or something like that, or anything like that, but they could do something on their website like Hasbro does and just generate interest, and if they can get so many people to commit to it, then they would buy it. But that unfortunately is just not going to work. It's not going to be, not that it couldn't work. It could work, but they're just not going to do it. They don't have the desire. I don't think RK1UP cares to have a super niche segment of their business, to cater to the super fans, because they could do that. And they could charge top dollar. And there's probably several people that would pay $1,000 for that cabinet if they could get it. So given the stock controls and everything else, I think there's a market there for it. How many people would actually buy that? I don't really know. Honestly, I don't really know. So I think that if you like the price of what they're selling right now, if $399 is your sweet spot, you might as well go ahead and do it. The only thing I can think that they might do is next year we might get rehashes where you have the NBA Jam 4-player now, which is a deluxe, and then it's got that slanted control panel. They could change all the 4 players to that, possibly. That would probably be, I think that's the biggest thing I think they would do next year. So as far as next year, absolutely not. They're not going to do it. So you're probably safe to go ahead and move on that cabinet now. Video Game Vegas. Hello, Fox. I know it's not popular to some, but I don't see the 3/4 scales as fake or toys. I feel like those terms are elitist. I see grades, commercial or consumer. 3/4 is just as real to me as commercial. We're talking about that tonight. We're talking about that in detail tonight. Quality is a differentiating factor for me. Absolutely. Jay is in the house too. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Did you get that new knee yet? No, that's the 27th, right? The 20. Yeah, you said the 27th. Yeah, tomorrow. Fingers crossed, buddy. Or I guess fingers crossed. Yeah, you can't. You don't want to cross anything else. Hey, 19K Fox. Hope you've had a good Boxing Day. I think the overall construction as well as a PCB, to a lesser extent, the monitor being a CRT and original controls, but often modern ones are superior. So overall, the construction as well as the PCB, that's where your votes kind of lie. Those two right there are the big ticket items. Funny how. And this is going to come up a little bit later in discussion. Funny how you move CRTs a little bit down the list. It's not quite as important to you, and maybe it's always been that way for you. But I think overall we're seeing some of that happen. Hey, Bob, how the hell are you, man? Good to see you. Hope everyone had a great Christmas, spending more time with family today. We'll catch you on the replay. Take care, everyone. Spend as much time as you can with that family of yours. And thanks for the information on that cabinet that we were discussing, going back and forth. I'm teetering on the edge, Bob. I'm trying to stay strong, but I don't know if I can hold out. Dan Z, how you doing, man? Always good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Hello there. Good to see you. And hey, 19K Fox is in the chat. I went ahead and posted it's a pinned comment. It's at the top of the chat. A link to my Teespring store. If you want to go there, check out some of my stuff. That's great. But tonight we're going to do another drawing, and it's going to be the same thing. If you win, you can go to my Teespring store and you can just pick out any single item, and I'll send it to you free of charge. So for all of those who maybe don't think they're going to win, or if you don't win tonight, you can still go up there and see what I have to offer. And if you think that any of that stuff's cool, you want to help out the channel a little bit, I'd appreciate it. That'd be awesome. Headshake TV. Merry Christmas, Fox. Missed the stream last night, so I'll be drinking 2 nights worth of liquor to catch up. That's no problem. I have no problem. And I love your enthusiasm. The commitment is not lost on me. Drink away, my friend. Frank D. Just Diet Pepsi tonight. Might break out the Crown Royal a little bit later. I see what you're doing there. There you go. Yeah. You're leaving that door open. Maybe we might have to, maybe. Come on. I like it. As long as you have to work tomorrow, what's the harm? Enjoy this week off. Stock Jock is in the house. Looking forward to second day streaming. I'm sorry, but that Unico cab is just ugly. Harsh words. I got no nostalgia for them. Guess I'm an old fuddy-duddy. Not really. We're going to talk about that tonight too. Just because you don't have nostalgia for this thing right here, I don't think that's an age thing. We'll talk about that tonight. Huge Success Guild. Hi, Fox. Looking forward to today's stream. I got an analog pocket for Christmas. Nice. I have been enjoying playing some old Game Boy games on it. Which one did you get? Like just a standard black or white one? Or did you get one of those translucent ones? Or did you get one of the color ones? They just kept coming out with wave after wave after wave. The problem is it's like they're gone like that. So every time I get pumped about one, I'm like, it's gone. Like you got to be there right then and there. Like you get within minutes or hours to get exactly the variant that you want. So I just get discouraged and don't even bother. But it looks like a great piece of hardware. Molar Medic, as you were. Good evening, everyone. Hope you all had a great Christmas/holiday. And as always, salute. Another drink. Why not? This beer ain't going to last long for sure. Sir Sega, how are you, man? Good to see you. Hello, Fox. I hope you had some R&R today. I had some R&R. Slept in, which is about 8 o'clock for me, and then got out and got started on the Road Blasters. And some of my parts came in, which was really, really nice. And I got a package from a community member, and I'm going to get to review something that they actually built. So that's really, really cool. More on that later on this week. I think I should be able to get this together this week. And it'd be really cool to review something that the community, one of the community members has actually made. So, and it's available for you to purchase. So that'll be cool. Stay tuned to the channel for that. MSU Rich, good evening, everyone. Good evening. How you doing? Toxin, another one? This guy? He's here again? Absolutely. Come on in, buddy. Good to see you. Congratulations to winning last night. Excuse me. The beer is rough. Not really. Excuse me. Can't be more than the bourbon, right? Dr. Jeffrey, how are you? Good to see you. Enjoying your show so much, sir. Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. I got the Fast and Furious and Time Crisis, and loving both of them. The sales price made that work. It alleviates some of the sins, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It really does. Like, oh, you know what? That sale, that price is not bad. I think that changes the calculus for everybody. So once those prices kind of come down and you're like, well, this is within reason, all of a sudden, it doesn't have to be a perfect cab now. It just got to be something you can enjoy. And I think you can definitely have some fun with that, man. So congratulations on those two purchases. Nova Sonic 23. Hey, Fox. Damn good to see you, man. Thank you so much for being here, as always. Gino 7823 Iffy. Feels like I was late for class. No. You're right on time. Right on time. Come on in here. Galaga Guy 88. The gift that keeps on giving, Fox, is at it again. I wish I could have had 4 votes for this poll. Just to mess it all up, you'd probably do one for each, wouldn't you? You'd probably vote one time in each, and it would just mess the whole thing up. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you. As always a good time. Always great to see everybody. Always great to have you here. And one thing that makes it just a little bit more special, a little cherry on top of this Sunday, is a super chat. This one is $9.99, $10 coming to us from Lee the Machine Bowers. How the hell are you, man? Thank you so much for your $10 super chat. Hey, Fox, if RK1UP wants to sell XL going forward for the price they're selling it, give us high-tech controls, number one, 19-inch BOE monitor with no flaws, then they will be successful. I think you're setting the bar right where it should be. I don't think that's too much to ask at all. I think that's where XL should be. That's kind of the formula that they got right with most of their standard 3/4 cabinets. The controls were passable, not flawless, but passable. So all you're really asking, and the monitors were BOE for the most part, right? They worked up to BOE. We had a little hiccup there with some TN monitors, but BOE is what they had. So I think they just want to continue that. And then no glaring flaws, which is something they've done fairly well with most of their standard cabinets. So you're really asking for pretty much basic stuff here. There's nothing out of the realm of possibility here. This is not a big ask. It's really not. It's just, hey, give me my money's worth. I think everybody can agree to that. But unfortunately, something you're probably not going to agree with is your location, because you're going to the pit.
Finish him. Molina wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
It's not the destination. It's the journey. Something, you still die at the end. It's horrible. But you can just shake it off. It's fine. It's just a video game. Ricardo, what's going on, man? Great to see you. I don't even care which one's better anymore. Sometimes you have to just deal with what you get. It's a really good point. What does it matter if it's not available, right? What does it matter if it doesn't exist or you just can't attain it? Then it doesn't really matter. Then we're just talking about the way things used to be. Reminiscent. Nostalgia for a time that can never be. And you just have to deal with what you got, what's in front of you. Good point. Mike Hawkhurst is here, killing it as always. Happy holidays, 19K Fox. I just finished a mini marathon of your shows from the past 2 days. I think what makes arcade cabs real is the license to accept payment per play. Now you're just changing the game, or actually you're validating the game. See, if you will it all down, if you boil it all down, that was the reason why these games were made, was to munch quarters. Now, some of them were, more egregious than the others, but they were designed to make money. They were designed to be bought by an establishment, placed in said establishment, and generate funds for establishment. So they would buy it for whatever, $1,000, whatever it was. And the deal was, okay, it's an investment. I'm going to spend $1,000, but I'm going to make so much money over time. The fact that we've taken that away, it does change the way that some of these games are actually played. It does affect some of the enjoyment. I'm a huge beat 'em up fan, but some of the challenges are alleviated if it's just set on free play, and I can just hit the button. and I can just keep going. Some of the anxiety is I only have $1 in my pocket. I only got 4 plays. How far can I get in 4 plays? That was a big part of it. So I think that I don't know if you were being facetious, but I think that you're probably right. At least it's definitely a big contributing factor. It's something to be considered. It has value. It has weight, almost as much weight as a super chat. This one is $1.99 coming to us from Huge Success Guild. $2. Thank you so much for your super chat. The real poll answer, Fox, is a working coin door. I feel as if I missed the mark somehow. Working coin door for the win. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. And here you go.
Finish him. Scorpion wins. Fatality.
Toasty, we're MK heavy the evening, coming in hot. Stringer Films, what's going on? Don't forget all the Genesis 6-player games like NHL 94. I guess that's correct. That's right. I would just love it if they would just do something like that. That would be kind of weird, but okay, I'd go with it. Why not? I mean, it's an arcade 1-up. They put anything on there, right? They don't even care. Is it a ROM? Is it an arcade ROM? Is it a 16-bit version? Whatever. Throw it on there. That's kind of where they're at now, right? Calvin Wong is in the house, 4 players and 2 USB controllers. Your supply for the 6-player X-Men. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted them to do with the countercades. Just have a 1-player setup with a controller, a USB controller for 2nd player. So it's not really there taking up space. It's almost like a requirement to have 2 people there. It's not a requirement, but you're off to one side. Make it a single player experience, and then you can add in players as you go. And you could still do remake the 4-player, right? And then have 2 USBs if you want to have the 6-player ROM. But the problem with that is the aspect ratio radically changes between the 4-player version and the 6-player. But I guess if you're going to go with a widescreen monitor, you could just crop it. But that means you're going to be dealing with some sort of a cropped image most of the time, because the majority of the time you're going to be playing on the 4-player ROM. But I guess you could always play the 6-player, right? And just have 1 or 2 players. But I think at the end of the day, you wouldn't really be saving too much. I think the biggest thing is going to be the monitor itself. You're going to have to get the right aspect ratio for that to have that game, right? You can't just squish it down on a 17-inch or a 19-inch 4x3. If you do that, it's just going to be absolutely horrible. So you're going to have a bigger monitor to get that somewhat correct. I think that's the main thing. And that's the biggest, that's going to be the big, at that point, if you've gone ahead and invested the money to widen out that cabinet, to add that monitor, you might as well have all 6 controls, all 6-player controls. But maybe that would be the best of both worlds, to go ahead and go with the monitor, widen out the body, but only have 4 players. And then just have 2 USBs for player 5 and player 6. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there, but I think that it's something they could have definitely done. They could have taken some feedback. They could have thrown it out there and say, hey, listen, we need 50 people to buy this cabinet and we'll make it, and just see what happens. And maybe they wouldn't have maybe they'd get 20. And then they say, hey, listen, we offered it. We made it available. Nobody wanted it. We're moving on. And at least that's all they can do as a company. But it would be nice for us to have the option. I mean, in some cases, like the X-Men 6-player, they made the prototype. They made it. Double Dragon, they made the prototype. We saw it. Why couldn't you just give us the option? Give us the option, man. Come on. Okay, everybody, we got to get rolling. We're halfway through. Hey, we got to talk and say hi and slow down and just a little bit and say hi to a celebrity in the chat. My good friend B. Kongs or Russ, how are you doing, man? Great to see you. Hopefully you're having a phenomenal Tuesday, man. And I enjoyed the live stream. Your live stream this weekend, kind of reminiscing, talking about the fun that we had with Arcade 1-Up, all those big events that they had was actually pretty cool, man. It kind of stinks because some of that stuff is over for now, but maybe we can look forward to some of that in the future. Maybe if it's not with Arcade 1-Up, it's with somebody else for sure. We got 2SI or 2SL, 2SI in the house. Hey, hey, brother. Hope all is well. It absolutely is, man. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate it. Love the arcade. Know anything from Vintage Arcade Superstore in Cali? I ordered a Gauntlet Dark Legacy cab in September. Bad communication. What do you know about them? I don't know much about them. Oh, you still don't have it. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. And that's where some of that sketchiness kind of comes in on some of these other companies that are out there that are maybe capitalizing on the arcade craze. Maybe they're kind of riding the wave. But unfortunately, I don't know much about them. I am located near Cincinnati, so I'm not familiar with the West Coast that much. Hey, my good friend, Memes of Destruction. How the hell are you doing, man? Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you as well. Always good to see you in the chat. Memes, carry on, brother. Carry on. I see the workout is going well. Kato771. Speaking of coin doors, what is up with the coin door on the new Legends Ultimate? It looks like the tiny coin door that comes with the ALP. Huge no-go. Absolutely. I addressed this on Sunday. I even put up a concept of what I think they should do, which is really just simplify it and partner with a community member, Retro530. He's got a great molded coin door. It's about the same size as the Arcade 1-Up, but it doesn't have the Arcade 1-Up branding. They could just partner with him, have a special one done, and actually add the At Games logo right there on the coin door. And then I even suggested go a little bit further to make it very At Games. And instead of having red light up coin buttons, make them green. But if nothing else, get the size right, because you're absolutely right. It's 100% wrong. Okay, everybody, enough. We've talked about what I'm drinking. The poll question is still up. Definitely want to check into that. And it is 27 minutes. Let's go ahead and begin to talk about what we're talking about. The thing we're talking about is the topic for tonight. And it is real versus fake, fake versus real. Where are we at now? I think that those lines are not so clearly defined. They're blurring. Things are bleeding into each other. So back in the day, the old battle line, I think that held for quite some time, was the CRT versus LCD debate. So breaking it down, what are we actually talking about? What makes up a real or traditional or the original arcades from back in the day? They were equipped with big power supplies, giant control panels or small control panels, but they were heavy duty controls, big CRTs, a JAMA wiring harness. They weren't all wired for JAMA. JAMA was a wiring standard, but for the most part, you get what I'm saying. It's a complicated, complex wiring harness, a lot of moving parts. And then, of course, a arcade PCB. This one is the CPS2, but they had just a ton of different things that sort of predated JAMA and then post-JAMA. A good example would be my Crazy Taxi Cab right here. It was Sega Naomi. That is not a JAMA wired cabinet. It's many different boards and many different wiring harness, and there's a lot going on there. If you've seen those videos, you know what I'm talking about. You pick up the seat, you pick up those panels. There's just boards everywhere, wiring harness everywhere. It's not terribly complicated because it's laid out pretty nice, but there's a lot going on there. And like I said, this was the standard for the longest time. But then eventually CRTs started to fail, and they would last for a long time, sure, but they eventually would fail. And then the debate began to raise, like we talked about the old battle line, right? It was CRTs versus LCDs. And it was just horrible. Families were ripped apart. It was basically a civil war of sorts within this hobby. It really was it was a sight to behold for sure. But I think that was actually a different conversation than what we're having now. See, back in the day, the CRT conversions, how can I put this? They weren't really polished or good. I think good would actually be, this is what I'm talking about. Actually, this is just as recent as this last year. When I bought my Cruisin' World, this was the LCD conversion that was done. You can see the 6 bolts or 6 nuts on the left side and the right side. That's where the monitor mounts used to be. They just took all that out. The CRT is obviously gone. And they just took a piece of plywood, cut it to fit around the Walmart TV, and then took a couple more pieces of small plywood and just sort of nailed it to the wall. And there you go. And you can see in the same picture, there's a old power strip. This is an old, so old. It's not even yellow or not white anymore. It's now yellow. And a cobbled up mess of wiring. And you have a couple of different AC adapters, one running the converter to HDMI and then HDMI into the TV. It's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. And it was not ideal. And of course you have some weird cropped image. It just didn't really make a lot of sense. It was an obvious departure from your good old fashioned CRT. And that was a problem that now a lot of people are trying to resolve. Not everybody's happy about it, but we're halfway into the stream, guys. We got to go ahead and kick it off. we got the poll question, but we also got something else going on. The second day of streaming is also the second day of giveaway. So in the chat, get ready. And once again, if you can't comment in the chat, it's because you're not subscribed. So do me a couple things: like this video, and then hit the subscribe button. And in 5 minutes, you're going to be eligible to get in the chat and comment. And I want you to make this comment right now. Let me go ahead and click this button. And this is what I want you to comment in the comment section. It's a hashtag. It is for, and this is what the drawing is for, another chance to win any item from my store. So the winner tonight is going to be able to go on to my Teespring. Once again, the link to that is the pinned comment in the chat right now. If you're watching this on the replay, I'm sure I'll pin that in the description. Well, no, it doesn't matter because you won't be able to win. Aha! Gotcha. I caught you slipping. But anyway, watching me live, you're going to be able to vote in just a minute, or not vote, but put the hashtag in, and then you can go to my Teespring store, pick out anything you want. Email me, let me know exactly what it is. If it's a t-shirt, the size, the color, all that good stuff, and I'll send it to you for absolutely nothing. Free. It's my gift to you the second day of streaming. So let's go ahead and click on that. And ready? Get your hashtags ready, boys and girls. Here we go. Hashtag 22 TOOTOO for your chance to win a thing from my store if you consider that to be valuable. I have no idea. But it's a free thing. Come on. So jump in there. Put this in the chat, the live chat. Enter for your chance to win. And tonight, at the end of the show, we will actually draw the winner. So there you go. So let's go ahead and remove that for now. And then as a nice little reminder, let me go ahead and put this banner up. You'll see at the bottom of the screen, hashtag 22 for a chance to win tonight and tonight only. And in 30 minutes, we will be revealing the winner. So there you go. Okay. So back in the day, this is what an arcade was. This is what an arcade machine was. That's what constituted. And then people started doing this because the CRTs were getting very expensive and hard to repair. And man, nobody liked that. That was bad. Aspect ratio was all wrong. Plywood and screws and duct tape. It's wrong. All kinds of not good things. Then these little things started popping up. These little arcade one-ups. Just like, what are these things? Well, they're really small. 4 feet or less. And they kind of got the shape. They kind of have the overall look, kind of, sort of, hey, Snow Dubs, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Merry Christmas, brother. But these arcade one-ups started popping up, and immediately they garnered a lot of interest and a lot of criticism. And I think both of them were absolutely, Kevin talking about 1/4 scale. Yeah. Technically 3/4 scale. That's what they called them. They garnered a lot of attention and a lot of criticism, and I think both deserving. They had the overall shape. They had this little 17-inch monitor. Back in the day, these were the TN monitors, so kind of rough, Controls were sketchy at best. No risers. This is predated the riser, right? These were all the first and second wave machines, and a lot of people, gravitated towards it. A lot of people criticized it, and a lot of this was because there was a lot of diehards that considered this not to be an arcade machine. And I think that the majority of the fans of these, if they were being honest, they didn't really consider these to be arcade machines either. This was just another way to play an arcade ROM, another way to play a game, really. And this came at a pinnacle time, an odd time, maybe a perfect storm of sorts, when we had everybody locked down because of the pandemic or the government's reaction to all that. And so being sort of stuck at home, that made this kind of thing a possibility. Maybe I could actually simulate an arcade at home, very smaller scale, but I'm locked at home. There's nothing else to do. And then also there's another thing that we need to consider. Physical media is drying up. It's been drying up for years now. Physical adapters and the days of the Sega Genesis with the 3D with the 32X and then the CD add-on and all that stuff, those days are long gone. And there was, no matter what you think, there is something to that where I got my system, great, what else can I buy for it? More controllers, charging stand for my controllers. I want to get a cooling fan and stick it on the back, even though it does absolutely nothing for the system. I want to do that, and then I want to buy this and that. I want to buy things and stuff to stick on it. If you get like the days of obviously the Game Boy, but the PSP and the Neo Geo Pocket and all that. I got to get a case for it, and I got to get a screen magnifier, and I got to get lights. I mean, there was so much crap we would buy, not just the console and the games, but the stuff we would buy to go with it. All that's been drying up lately. I mean, for years now, you've really just been sort of confined to just buying your, system with a line. Maybe you get a hard drive, you kind of up the storage so you could download a lot of stuff and controllers, but there's really not that much stuff to buy for these systems, including physical games. It's just not necessary anymore. And depending on who you are, that might be a real problem for you. And to me, it kind of is. It brings up a whole other question of do you own physical? Do you actually own the game at all? It's a whole other thing for a whole other time. But to see this, and to know what an arcade was back in the day, and to see this, it was an obvious distinction. There's just no way these were anybody that was being honest, whether you liked these things or not, you knew. And I was an owner of an original. I had a Street Fighter 2. I knew this was not the real deal. I never claimed that it was. I never even claimed that it could directly compete with the real thing, but it was a great way to sort of simulate and get that feeling of what it was back in the day. It really was. But then the lines, once again, things started to change. Arcade One-Up, one of a few companies, started to up their game, started to change the game. And the physical size and construction of their machines started to increase. The controls started to get a little bit more accurate. I mean, maybe the quality wasn't there, but they were focusing more on trying to accurately recapture or reimagine the original experience from back in the day. So the machines are getting bigger. The controls are getting at least more tailored to the game. I'm not going to say the quality was was great or improved, because I don't necessarily think that the quality of the controls themselves were, but the effort to simulate what we got back in the day was definitely there. So once again, kind of a step forward, a big step forward. And all of a sudden, things start to get a little bit more, not so much black and white. It's like, well, you get this whole, well, that's close enough. That's close enough. And for a lot of people, maybe not so much with Street Fighter, a cabinet you can find all over the place, really. I mean, it's not really that difficult, depending on what type of Street Fighter you're trying to find. It's not that difficult to find one. A Mortal Kombat cab, that's a little more difficult to find. But run-of-the-mill cabinets and or games and Dynamo cabinets, they're pretty easy to find. So the rarity and all that wasn't that big a deal. But when you start talking about like a Killer Instinct cabinet, like, hold on now, wait a minute. Now, Killer Instinct cabinets are hard to find. I mean, you're talking about, $1,500, depending on the quality and all that. And which game is it? Is the second one? Is the first one? Is the game running properly? Does it have the old mechanical hard drive on it still? I mean, is everything still functioning properly? The price starts getting really, really out of hand because of the rarity. So all of a sudden, a $500 3/4 scale version, it's like the gap between those is so vast that, what do I always call these things, kids? In the chat, what do I always call them? The compromise machine. That's what these things are, little compromise machines. Like, what are you willing to live with to say, well, okay, it doesn't have this, or this, but it's also half the price. It's a third of the price. It's a quarter of the price. So, hey, that's the compromise I'm willing to make. So let me go buy one. And then once again, we started to get beyond the 3/4 scale to the XL. And then once again, we also see that line is sort of beginning to blur. Things are starting to get more in proportion. This, in my opinion, the XL cabinet, in my opinion, is the true 3/4 scale arcade representation, right? You're much more closer to 3/4 in the XL form factor than you are in the 17-inch version. That's just the way that I feel. That's just the way that it is. I just don't think that you can't really, those 17-inch monitors just don't really do it for me. They just really don't. I don't feel that you're just not there. I think the 19-inch, the XL, is a much better 3/4 scale, right? In my personal opinion. And it gets you a lot closer, not close, but closer to that real thing. And once again, the compromise machine that you're dealing with now, it's a lot more, it's accessible. I mean, it's a lot more acceptable. Perfect example. I have the Golden Tee, the one in this picture here. It's back here now in the arcade. It got a lot of play over the weekend. And then on Monday, Christmas Day, Had a lot of people over. I had it set up. We had 4 bowlers bowling, and the thing is, the bowling gets more play than the golf. But we were playing the hell out of that bowling game, I'm telling you, and it was just groups of 4 would play, and you could have 4 people at a time, each taking their turn, different sizes, bigger, smaller, whatever, and everybody could just walk up to it and enjoy it. And I think that size is the sweet spot. So once again, what are you willing to live with? What's real? What's fake? Well, we know the big tube TV or the big CRT on the right-hand side is definitely the real machine, the original machine. But I think that this was definitely much more acceptable, but still very much fake versus real, right? The conversation's still there. Oh, well, it's this, that. Because you remember, this arcade machine right here came with a TN monitor. Not good, right? Really, really bad. So it's an LCD, but the thing about the LCDs, they're supposed to be so much better than those CRTs. And that was a tough, conversation to have with somebody. It was a hard case to make when you're looking at TN monitors with horrible viewing angles. You're like, you wasted your money. This thing really sucks. There's nothing good about it. And it's tough to have that conversation. Luckily, we found a fix, a real smile bit, and others dug into the existing monitors out there, and we found a suitable replacement. I was able to find a brand new one. I put it in this cabinet, and as of right now, that thing is on and still rocking to this day. This mod was done a long time ago. I'd have to go back in my channel and see when I posted that review, that assembly video. But it's been working for a long time. A long time. J-Hulk, 4 bowlers bowling, 3 Frenches. It's that time of year. So in my opinion, it's like the compromise is it's starting to get, a lot of people are like, well, okay. I mean, yeah, Arcade 1-Up, they suck, but I don't know, man, those XLs. And then remember, this is one of the big things, the iArcade versus Arcade 1-Up crew. They were really nailing Arcade 1-Up because of the 19-inch monitor, which they had a valid point. That was a great looking monitor. And then the JBL sound in the gold cabinets were just a big deal, right? I even put JBL speakers in. It sounded great. So once again, those lines starting to get a little blurry, right? But still, I think the division was pretty clear. And, I always talked about what the real machines had in them, and then you can see that some of this stuff right here, these are some of the reasons, the foundational reasons why I think the divide was still very clear. Yes, you have the same basic components, but it's really different. And depending on how you voted in the poll up top in the chat there, this is a deciding factor for you. That monitor, obviously the LCD, that's a big deal. That's not a CRT. The controls themselves are not the same quality. They're there, but you don't have the same room on that control panel. You don't have the same quality in the sticks and the buttons. You just don't. I'm sorry, you just don't. You're going to have to, invest in that. The power supply is just a little, 120 volt to 12 volt brick that just plugs in the back. It's not even there, which I think that's probably a good thing. But the PCB, I think, and that's one of the biggest things, right? How are we delivering the game to the monitor? What's doing it? This is emulation. This is a system on a chip. This is an underpowered, single board. And it's just not, a lot of people like, this is just not getting us there. And I think that if I were maybe to vote in this poll that I have up there, once again, only 116 votes, everybody jump up there and vote in the poll. What makes an arcade cabinet real or fake? You got 4 options. If I was to vote in that poll, I think when it all came down to it, I'm kind of on the side of the PCB, right? That's probably the biggest thing that differentiates a real arcade and the fake, or the emulation machines, or the little 1-Ups, or the little whatever, right? So that's still, I think, a clear dividing line. So while some of the lines were getting a little blurry and the sizes were getting bigger and the monitors were getting better, at the end of the day, you were still having some of these foundational things were different. And I think PCB definitely being one of them, controls being one of them. That's just some of the building blocks, right, of the real arcade. But then I think it finally happened. I think somebody figured it out. And it actually started with a company making some components to kind of further blur those lines. Remember, the worlds are merging, the realms are merging. And we see that somebody started recognizing that there was a need for something. And so they did it. Unico came out with a 26-inch monitor. Well, they first came out with a 17, and then a 19, and then eventually a 26-inch 4x3 LCD monitor for the express purpose of being put into arcade machines to replace those CRTs. And it's been met with overall positive news. I have one in my Midway cabinet. It has an issue, not perfect at all. Anybody that's reviewed these things has probably told you that. They've been honest with you. It's not a perfect solution, but it is a pretty good solution. It's damn near plug and play because it accepts the original CGA connection from most arcade boards. And then really to mount it in your arcade machine is really not that difficult. It really just takes, I mean, if you have all your original mounting in place, take out your CRT, and really I just use a piece of 1/2-inch MDF. You cut out the size you need to fit your specific location. You're going to have 4 holes, most likely, sometimes 6, that you have to drill for the stock location. 1/2-inch MDF is going to be probably just you don't want to go any thicker than that because the bolt won't go all the way through. And then you cut out, find the center, cut out the hole for the size of the monitor you purchased from Unico, and away you go. And once again, a better solution. It wasn't this. It wasn't. So you can say goodbye to this garbage, this really bad thing, and you can get rid of that, and you can go with the Unico replacement monitor. Now, some of these existed before too. You had Suzo Hap, you had other companies that were coming out with these things, and they were not cheap. They were not cheap at all. And to be fair, the Unico 26-inch monitor is also not cheap, coming at $300. It's nothing to sneeze at, but still not quite as bad as some of those Suzo Hap options. But then this year, somebody did it, and it was Unico again, taking direct inspiration from a cabinet that wasn't really available in the States, in North America. I mean, it was imported by a few places, but it was kind of a really niche sort of product. And some of you in the chat were talking about, well, I just don't have any nostalgia for the Astro Cities or the Candy Cabs. I guess I'm just old. I don't think that's the case. I don't think age has much to do with it because these weren't really available in North America on a massive scale. The nostalgia overall for this is just not there. And it doesn't really matter how old you are because these cabs came out in early 90s, right? I think the first city cab, forget what it was called, but I think it actually came out in the late 80s. What you're looking at here is a Astro City. I think it's about 94, I think, when they came out. So even if you were a little bit younger, you probably still wouldn't have seen this in your average, arcade, especially in the mid 90s when some of the, I think it was still pretty hype as far as the actual popularity of the arcades. But remember, you're staring down the barrel of the internet coming down the way. Year 2000-ish is when the internet kind of starts picking up. Not really fully, not online gaming as of yet, but that's taking attention away from the not only the arcade, but going out in general, right? But for those of us that were into arcades, generally speaking, and liked some of the fighting games and liked some of the like the Capcom CPS2 games was kind of my favorite sort of genre of or I guess system out there at the time. A lot of these I would see them played on these cabinets. And if you're doing internet searches, if you're looking back then, if you're looking at some articles, you would see this weird looking cab like this. And it was something that most people probably just kept flipping through the catalog. Or kept or through the magazine, like, I don't really. And I think I saw this in a magazine. The first time I ever saw a candy cab was in some kind of a gaming magazine, and they were talking about some Japanese expo or something going on in Japan. And that's when I saw this, and I was like, what is that? Is that just some one-off thing? And that's when I, started doing a little more research, and you find out, no, this is a whole thing, right? This is like a whole Japanese thing. It's a way to game, and you just sit down. Like, that's great. So taking direct inspiration from that, which is kind of niche, Unico decided to come out with a Nova Blast cabinet. This is an all-metal cabinet that comes with one of those 26-inch monitors. And it looks great. It emulates that. It simulates that look. It's not 100%. Obviously, you can see that this cabinet is fiberglass with a metal skeleton inside, so it's sort of rounded and smooth. But you've also, so you kind of don't have that working for you because this cabinet is all metal, which I think is a good thing, but that is more of like a Chulix or a Vulix sort of construction. Now, those cabinets were the 16:9, big 32-inch TVs, modern gaming, the current generation Mortal Kombat 1, current generation Street Fighter 6, those games. You think about those games, the latest KI, 16:9 HD gaming, that's more of a Vulix or a Chulix. That's what that is. Sit down format. but 16 by 9 aspect ratio. But this is where it all started with the candy cabs and the big CRTs and the 4:3 aspect ratio. So that's where this drew inspiration from. And it's not like Unico is the first one to come out with a cabinet or the remanufacturing cabinets. This is not an exact copy, but other companies like Prince Arcades up in Illinois, they make straight up reproduction cabinets of original arcade cabinets from back in the day. So it's not like this is anything new. And you can actually go there, check out their website there. If you're in the market for trying to recreate a cabinet, or maybe if you've got one and the cabinet itself is just beat up, but you got a good PCB and maybe you got a good monitor, that's where you can go. You can get a new shell. And that's basically what it was, right? That was the hardest thing for most people to get their hands on, is a good shell, because North American cabs are made of wood. So what happens? Well, wood gets scratched, wood gets broken, wood gets cracked. If it gets wet, it gets saturated, it swells. If some of this stuff was like a particle board or a press board, or like, God forbid, like an MDF, if it got wet, it just swole up. And I mean, you know what happens? The T-molding is not going to stick in the edge if it swells up. The artwork's going to bubble, it's just, and then worse, it's going to cause like structural damage on the bottom, because a lot of these things, if they didn't have the feet, the wood was just sitting on the ground. And so there's only so much that T-molding is going to do for you. So it's it's just a real bummer. So some people could go to places like Prince Arcades and get a brand new shell, and away you go. But that was just a shell, a wooden shell. You still had to bring your own monitor and PCB, wiring harness, which is a big thing, and everything else. But Unico is doing something a little bit more than that. It's not just a shell, which if that was the only thing, if this was just a shell with a with an LCD in it, I think they may have missed. They could miss the mark, because remember, these candy cabs were fiberglass. They were rounded. I think with the exception of the first Sega City cab, it was a metal. It was actually a metal cabinet with a hinged, I think, top, so you could rotate the monitor. Everything else after that was like fiberglass and smooth and rounded and curved and all that, kind of like space shuttle looking. This doesn't simulate that very well. I mean, it does, but it doesn't have the curviness, right? It's very much metal and straight sides. But it's got the monitor in it, but it's got something else too. And I think this is the big thing. This is what I'm talking about. The worlds are converging. Okay. Things are changing. The way that you actually, now the thing that this doesn't have is a game. There is no game board inside. You bring your own game. How do you connect a game to this? Is it just an HDMI cord? Do you throw a PlayStation in there? Well, I think you can do that. But you can also plug in a original game PCB via a JAMA cable in this cabinet. So now we're talking about original arcade PCBs, what looks to me to be a like a brand new, I don't even know, is this a custom designed JAMA cable? This looks really slick, guys. It looks really cool, because the original JAMA cables or harness were very much a harness, a collection of individual wires that were soldered to, and I'm sure this is the way this probably looks under all that nice jacketing, all that coating, but still, this is pretty nice. Very Apple-esque kind of on the inside. You got all the wires are white. Everything looks finished, except for that power supply. This is funny. I was looking at this power supply here in the picture. It's the aluminum or the metal covered thing over on the right-hand side where all the wires come in. I went to Amazon. That's the same power supply I use for my X-Men cabinet. I used the same one. All I did is I took my power supply, that same power supply, I took that and I disassembled the cover. And instead of it being chrome, I painted it black so it would kind of match the rest of the inside of the cabinet. And then I put a red LED light on the inside so it kind of glow. So it looks kind of like a toaster. So I don't know. But so I think that's not quite as polished as everything else in the cabinet. But everything else, these PCBs look custom as far as like all the connections. The USB encoders, I'm really interested in checking all that out. But this JAMA cord looks really stout. And it also, once again, you're beginning to sort of lose the distinction. No, we're no longer talking about this over here. All of a sudden, we're starting to get more of those original parts and pieces integrated into this new shell. So the things you got to bring now, whereas if you go to a great place like Prince Arcades and you get this awesome cabinet, you still got to bring a lot of stuff. The wiring harness could be the biggest thing. I mean, standard JAMA harness are good, but what if your cabinet's a little bit different? Some of that wiring may not work out just as well, or you may get a JAMA harness that just doesn't. I mean, the wires aren't very thick. And anybody trying to find a good replacement harness knows the pain and suffering of trying to find a decent JAMA harness. The connectors are never quite, the wires aren't always thick. Some of the soldering work just isn't that great. Poor connections. It's bad. It sucks. Because remember, the wiring harness is the thing that makes it all work. And a lot of people would pay good money for a good heavy-duty harness, but they're just not out there. You're stuck paying $20 for something you bought on eBay, and hopefully it works, and maybe it does, and I don't know, and but this looks a lot better. This looks a lot better. Yes. Rec Room Masters used to offer JAMA setups. Yes, that's correct. You are correct. Not sure if they do any longer. I don't know if they do either, but yeah, it's out there. And so, further illustrating the point, I don't want to, and I guess to your point, I don't want to give Unico all the credit for doing this. They're just the latest player. The thing about all the other websites, though, is the price was very high. We're talking about $1,200 for this setup here. If you want this combo, it's $11.99, $1,200 plus $150 to ship it. So you're talking about $1,350. I think that still comes in cheaper than some of the offerings from Rec Room Masters. And this is much more of an homage to an original cabinet, but the same can be said for some of the offerings from Rec Room Masters. I'm not sure if they still offer that. One thing you're also going to see if you're curious about this cabinet, checking it out, it's going to come with real Sanwa controls, branded real Sanwa controls. So just like what we got with the Sega Astro City, you're getting the same Sanwa controls. So ideally, you're not going to have to worry about swapping out the controls, right? Knock on wood. Hopefully that stays true. If they're real Sanwa, you shouldn't have an issue as long as you're okay with Sanwa. But there again, this is a specific sort of cabinet, right? They came with Sanwas. Also, one thing that they've done is the control panel is swappable with stock Astro City control panels. So that means that you can have different player combinations. So you don't have to have the 8-button setup per side. You could go with the standard 6-button. You could go with a single player. You could go with 2-player 3 buttons, whatever you want to do. You can do that by swapping out the control deck with, stuff that's readily available. Well, I say readily available. It's not readily available, but you can go to eBay right now and find control panels for Astro Cities. And so now we got to ask ourselves, we're talking about the line, right? What is real? What is fake? What is emulation? What is simulation? And a lot of you have a lot of good ideas. And I think we're going to look at the poll in just a second and see where everybody falls. But I think we can see that while we were talking about this, when you consider that now we are talking about this, all of a sudden those lines, not only are they blurring, but they're beginning to completely disappear. And I think at the end of the day, this is the best shape we've ever been in. This is awesome. This is a great place to be, is to have companies, Unico being the first one, I think, kind of to tackle the candy cab side of it. I think they're probably doing that because it is a smaller form factor. It's sort of stackable. It's a way they can sell it. And if they can get this in retail stores, it's going to be great. But you can bring your own PCB. It's already got the Sanwa buttons. So what is the argument then? If this, and you can do the same thing with the Rec Room Masters. Anybody that currently offers a JAMA setup, the question I put to you, what's real? What's fake? What is it? The compromised index, these compromised machines I talk about, I think that pie wedge is beginning to narrow. And all of a sudden, you're having to deal with less compromise and more of what we actually want. I think at the end of the day, for me, the most important thing is that these games live on. The great thing about the arcade community is that we are actually actively trying to preserve the games and the experience. As movies, as TV shows are getting remade and bastardized and changed, and it's just that they're taking the memory or the nostalgia of what they had, and they're just distorting it to, sort of be whatever they want it to be in current day. We're actively fighting to preserve the arcade experience, the games as it all was intended to be. And I think that Unico is a step in the right direction. But the compromise index also encompasses price. So if price is, if it's going to be a limiting factor for you, well, then maybe it's a non-starter. But I think that when you're talking about real arcade controls and real arcade PCBs, and the only exception that we're making now is just the fact that we don't have a CRT and we don't have an original shell. I think that the discussion, I think it gets more, the waters are muddied. The lines are blurring. The lines aren't completely gone yet. They haven't disappeared totally. But like I said, this is a great position to be in, and a great way to kickstart 2024. Okay, guys, that's it. That's all I got for you tonight. But we got some cleanup to do. A couple things we got to talk about. Number one is we got to draw a winner. If you just came in, if you just stopped by, this little banner on the bottom, type in hashtag TWO22, or I'm sorry, 22, TWOTOO for your chance to win a free item from my Teespring store. If you want a hat, if you want a mug, if you want a t-shirt, any single item. If you win tonight, all you got to do is email me, let me know what you want, and I'll send it to you free of charge. Just a little ways to say thank you for being here, supporting the channel, and smashing like buttons and sharing and all that good stuff. So without further ado, let's go ahead and head back to, boom, the giveaway tool here. Okay, everybody, 65 entries, not too shabby. All right. Very good. Let's go ahead and I'll give you just a few more seconds while I take a sip of the old Christmas ale. That's not bad. Breckenridge Brewery. You did a good thing here. You did a damn good thing. Good job. Good job. Okay, 68 entries. Two more. Come on, guys. Enter. Type in 22. Not the ballerina thing. We're talking about the second day of streaming. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end it now. And 5, 4, 3. We're drawing. Okay, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Who's going to win the roulette? Who's going to win? And yay! VGV. We got Video Game Vegas. You are the winner, the second day winner. VGV. Thank you so much. I'm going to write your name down. Thank you so much for entering, for subscribing, for being part of the fun. Congratulations, Video Game Vegas. You win. And listen, if you didn't win tonight, don't worry. You're going to have 3 more chances to win this week, because we're going to continue the 5-day streaming tomorrow with day 3. And then, of course, day 4. And get ready for this one, day 5. It's good. That's the way it works. It's counting. It's 1 to 5. And if you didn't win tonight, but you maybe want to buy something for yourself, you want to check out what all the hoopla is about, go up. It's the pinned comment in the chat right now. It's a link to my Teespring store. You can go over there and check it out and see if this contest is even worth entering. Who knows? All the stuff in my store could be garbage. But in any event, man, thank you so much for being part of it. Congratulations to Video Game Vegas. Email me. Okay, so you won. So what do? This is what you do. You go on over and you email me at 19kfox1@gmail.com and tell me what you want, and I'll send it to you. Obviously, you got to give me an address. So send me an address of wherever you want me to send it to. Once again, if it's a t-shirt, put in the color, put in the size. And obviously, if it's a hat, I got a couple different versions. I got this. I got a black version if you want a ball cap. Just let me know. Let me know whatever you want. So email me at 19kfox1@gmail.com. Okay, we got one more thing to wrap up. We got to talk about the poll question. So the big question in this whole arcade game hobby, right, is this: what makes an arcade cabinet real or fake? The lines are blurring, possibly, but I think they're still here. I think they're still there. I think they're still alive and well. So 145 votes, not too shabby. Let's go ahead and end the poll right now, and let's talk about the results. Okay, so not really surprising, but let's start with number 4. Coming in at, well, this is actually surprising. I will say this. Coming in at number 4 with 14% is controls. Controls used to rank a lot higher. I think maybe we have a little bit more faith, just a little bit more faith in Arcade 1-Up and some of these other companies as far as making decent controls. Maybe, I don't know. But coming in 4th place is controls. Coming in 3rd, now this is a shocker. Okay, now I'm reading this. This is a shocker. In 3rd place is the good old CRT versus LCD battle. So 17% of you say the monitor is the biggest deciding factor. Is it a CRT? Is it an LCD? Only 17%. It's only 3% more than the last place offering. Wow. Okay. So monitor is number 3. So what's it going to be? Coming in at number 1, is it going to be cabinet construction or is it going to be the PCB? No surprise here. Coming in at number 1 is with 38% is the game PCB. So of course, second place is cab construction, which ranked a little bit higher than I thought. That was 29%. So, okay. So first and second place are only separated by 9 points or 9 percentage points. Not too shabby. So I think that I overall pretty much agree. I am kind of shocked with the monitor ranking so low. I thought it was going to be at least number 2, but it's down. It's significantly. It's solidly in third place, almost in last place. So maybe that conversation, maybe that's a little bit stale. And I think that's good because unfortunately what that did, instead of having real conversations about the differences in CRTs and LCDs, it became a way to divide us, I think, divide people. If you liked this, you were lesser than. If you didn't appreciate the CRT and demand that in your cabinet, you didn't really know what you were talking about. I thought that kind of sucked. But I'm glad that conversation, hopefully for the most part, it's kind of been put to bed, and we can look at these offerings from these companies as a whole, and we can decide for ourselves what's real, what's fake, or really, what are you willing to compromise? How does this fit in your compromise index? Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me tonight on day 2 of streaming. Tomorrow, day 3. What are we talking about? You're going to have to pay attention to the channel. Look for the thumbnail to pop up. And once again, congratulations to the winner tonight. And yeah, if you want a chance to win, just come back right here tomorrow. And I'll be here waiting for you. Anyway, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel. You all have a blessed day. And I will see all of you right here next time. Peace.